The tranquil afternoon of a summer's day transformed into a harrowing ordeal for a family in Ottawa. A young woman, Artuth Wood, with her future brimming with promise, disappeared without a trace. Her absence ignited an unprecedented search, engulfing the city and capturing the nation's attention. The community's heartbeat quickened as detectives pursued a labyrinth of tips and suspects, each path dissolving into the shadows of unanswered questions. Artuth's narrative began far from this turmoil, in the serene town of St. John, Canada, on October 28, 1975. She was the eldest sibling, a guiding light for her two younger brothers. Her family, seeking new opportunities, eventually settled in Ottawa, where Artuth's thirst for knowledge blossomed. She attended a Catholic school, and her academic journey led her to university, where she embraced history and philosophy with fervor. Her scholarly pursuits were matched by her zest for life. Artuth thrived in the academic realm, her conversations with professors transcending the typical student-teacher dynamic, earning her respect and admiration. Her vision extended beyond academia. She aspired to impart her knowledge at a prestigious institution. Balancing intellect with physical vitality, Artuth. In the summer of 2003, at 27, Artuth returned to Ottawa, fresh from completing her PhD. The distance from her university near Toronto had been a constant challenge, making her homecoming a cherished reunion with her family. She intended to savor each moment, weaving memories with her loved ones, before resuming her scholarly endeavors. On August 6th, the day began with promise. Artuth rose early, invigorated by a morning run, and later crafted a strawberry dessert, a gesture of love for her family. Plans with her mother were momentarily paused by a forecast of impending rain. Seizing the clear skies, Artuth embarked on a brief cycling excursion, promising to return within an hour and a half. Yet, as the skies darkened and rain cascaded down, Artuth remained absent. Her mother, initially unperturbed, presumed she had sought refuge from the downpour. However, as the rain subsided and the hours stretched into an unsettling silence, concern swelled into alarm. Her father and brothers, driven by urgency, scoured the city's park trails, a familiar path for cyclists in search of any sign of her. The disappearance of Artuth Wood, a scholar, a sister, a daughter, and a dreamer, cast a shadow that lingered long after the rain had ceased. It raised profound questions about the fragility of life and the unforeseen turns that can alter our paths. In the quiet echoes of her absence, one is reminded of the delicate balance between the known and the unknown, a testament to the mysteries that life, in its unpredictable course, can sometimes unveil. Artuth and her brothers, in the innocent days of youth, would spend endless hours exploring the vast expanses of the local trails. The paths were a canvas of freedom, a familiar sanctuary where laughter echoed and dreams were spun in the open air. It seemed only natural that she might have sought solace in these trails once more. Yet, this was but a presumption. Artuth had departed without detailing her intended path, leaving her family to search in a deafening silence that offered no clues. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the creeping shadows of night mirrored the growing panic within her family. 6 hours had slipped through their fingers since Artuth's unspeakable events. It was then that her family resolved to alert the authorities, hoping for swift action. Yet, the wheels of bureaucracy turned slowly. Artuth, at 27, was considered an adult, capable of making her own choices, even if that choice was to vanish. But her family was not content to rest in uncertainty. Mobilizing their community, they reached out to friends and neighbors, igniting a beacon of collective effort. The response was swift and heartfelt. Within hours, the quiet streets of their neighborhood buzzed with the footsteps of dozens of volunteers, each determined to find a trace of Artuth. Together, they combed through the labyrinthine network of Ottawa's bike trails, a sprawling web that stretched over 100 miles, each path a potential lead, yet a daunting challenge. The dawn of a new day brought with it the formal involvement of the police. They established a command post at the Aviation Museum, a strategic nexus where several major trails intersected. With the added might of law enforcement, the search intensified, aided by the distribution of Artuth's images across media platforms. The call for public assistance reverberated through the city, and the community's response was nothing short of remarkable. Hundreds of residents, driven by empathy and urgency, rallied to the cause. Mounted units, helicopters, and even military personnel joined the expanding search effort. In a matter of days, the pursuit of Artuth had burgeoned into one of the largest mobilizations in Ottawa's history. Yet, despite the collective will and extensive resources, Artuth remained elusive. The city's heart ached with the absence of resolution. As news of her disappearance spread, the police were deluged with a flood of information, each call a potential thread in the unraveling mystery. Among these were the unsettling testimonies of several women, each recounting encounters with a man whose presence on the trails was as disquieting as it was familiar. Their stories painted a portrait of a man who seemed to blend seamlessly into the backdrop of the park trails, athletic, attractive, and initially disarming in his approach. He was a specter of normalcy, engaging in light banter before revealing a more sinister side. These encounters, all occurring within proximity to the river where the command post was stationed, suggested a pattern lurking beneath the surface of the search. In the heart of this unfolding narrative lay a profound reflection on community, vigilance, and the haunting interplay between safety and vulnerability. The search for Artuth, while born of fear, became a testament to the strength of human connection and the relentless pursuit of truth. As night turned to day and hope mingled with despair, the city of Ottawa stood united, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who refused to let one of their own slip away into the shadows. Without warning, the tranquility of the park was shattered on that fateful day when a man emerged from the shadows, attempting to drag a young woman from her bicycle into the dense, foreboding woods that bordered the path. In a surge of adrenaline-fueled panic, she fought her assailant with every ounce of strength she could muster. Her struggle was not in vain, as she managed to break free from his grasp and flee to safety, leaving behind only the echo of her terror. The authorities, seizing upon her vivid recollection of the event, swiftly crafted a composite sketch of the suspect. Yet, mindful of the chaos that might ensue, they opted to withhold it from the public eye. Their decision was a calculated one. The police were already overwhelmed with a deluge of tips, and without tangible evidence to connect this man to the enigmatic disappearance of Artuth, they feared that releasing the sketch might only muddy the waters further. Despite the absence of a public alert, whispers of similar incidents began to surface. More women stepped forward, each recounting eerily similar encounters with a man whose description aligned with that of the initial suspect. He was a shadowy figure, behaving erratically and attempting in several chilling instances to pull them off the trail and into the ominous embrace of the woods. A pivotal breakthrough emerged from an unexpected source, a 16-year-old girl, a witness to the events of that harrowing day. Compelled by Artuth's photograph broadcasted across the news, she reached out to the authorities with a revelation that added a new dimension to the investigation. On the day Artuth vanished, the teenager had been cycling through the park. She had passed Artuth on the trail, only to hear a scream moments later. Turning back, the girl had glimpsed Artuth in what appeared to be a heated exchange with a man. Her instincts told her something was amiss, yet uncertainty held her back. She continued on her way, but a nagging sense of dread prompted her to look once more. This time, she saw the man leading Artuth into the woods, a sight that sent a chill through her bones. Compelled by an uneasy curiosity, she retraced her path and ventured a short distance into the trees, only to find a hat suspended from a branch and 2 bicycles abandoned on the forest floor. Artuth and the man, however, had vanished into the ether. Haunted by the scene, the girl turned back, trying to rationalize the encounter as a mere misunderstanding, perhaps an argument between lovers. Yet, as she pedaled away, another scream pierced the air, leaving her to wonder if it was real or a figment of her imagination. When the police presented her with the composite sketch derived from other women's testimonies, she confirmed that it bore a striking resemblance to the man she had seen with Artuth. This new lead invigorated the detectives, reinforcing their growing belief that Artuth had been abducted and narrowing the possible location of the crime. An exhaustive search was launched, mobilizing hundreds of volunteers and even divers to scour the park and the serpentine river that wound through the landscape. For 4 agonizing days, they combed every inch of the area, driven by the hope of unraveling the mystery. Finally, their perseverance was rewarded. From the depths of the river, they retrieved a bicycle. The serial number etched into its frame confirmed it as belonging to Artuth's brother, a poignant testament to her presence there. The discovery was a bittersweet victory, a beacon of hope and a reminder of the shadows that lingered. The story of Artuth's disappearance, marked by bravery, fear, and the relentless pursuit of truth, serves as a solemn reminder of the delicate balance between light and darkness in our world. It underscores the profound impact of vigilance and community in the face of uncertainty, urging us to remain ever watchful lest the shadows encroach upon the sanctity of our shared humanity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the riverbank, the atmosphere was heavy with the grim resignation of the detectives. The search for Artuth, once a beacon, prompting the police to refocus their efforts on the riverbank, a place that now held the secrets they desperately sought. Amidst this somber backdrop, a call pierced the routine of the voice on the line was frantic, teetering on the edge of hysteria. The caller confessed to an accidental killing, a tragic mishap, he claimed, that had resulted in Artuth's death near a bike path. He described a scene of panic, where in his desperate attempt to hide what he insisted was an unintentional act, he had partially buried her body near the riverbank, concealing it with branches. Detectives quickly mobilized, tracing the call to a payphone in a nearby town. The hope was to extract fingerprints or DNA evidence from the phone, a tangible clue that might finally unmask the caller. Yet, upon arrival, they found nothing but a cold, silent booth, devoid of any usable evidence. Meanwhile, search dogs, with their unparalleled sense of smell, were deployed along the riverbanks where Artuth's bicycle had been a mere few feet from the river, shrouded in branches, almost as if nature itself was attempting to shield it from prying eyes. The condition of the remains was harrowing. Decomposition had progressed to such an extent that visual identification was impossible. The absence of clothing further complicated matters. Yet, the detectives felt a grim certainty that they had found Artuth. The remains were swiftly sent to the medical examiner for a formal identification. As forensic analysts combed through the surrounding terrain, the hopes of finding incriminating evidence dwindled. There were no footprints, no personal items, no signs of the perpetrator. The forensic analysis, however, confirmed their fears. The body was indeed Artuth's. The autopsy revealed a chilling cause of death: drowning. It appeared she had been forcibly held underwater until she succumbed to unconsciousness, after which her body was dragged to the riverbank and concealed. Her clothing, a potential key to unlocking the mystery, was missing, presumably taken by her killer. The question of sexual assault lingered in the air, the condition of the scene heavily suggesting such a grim possibility, yet there was no definitive proof. In a strategic move, investigators released a composite sketch of the suspect, igniting a flurry of new leads. Women from the area came forward, recounting unsettling encounters with a man who matched the description. He had been seen lurking in local parks, harassing women, yet none of these accounts brought the detectives any closer to capturing the elusive figure. The investigation expanded, casting a wider net over several hundred potential suspects. Each was scrutinized with meticulous care, yet the direct link to Artuth's murder remained elusive. The detectives began to wonder if this case was part of a larger, more sinister pattern. Could Artuth's tragic fate be the work of a serial predator? The unsettling possibility gained traction with the knowledge that the mysterious confession had originated from an area linked to similar attacks on women the previous year. In the quiet hours of the night, as the river whispered its secrets to the wind, the detectives were left to ponder the depths of human darkness. The truth remained just out of reach, obscured by shadows and silence. Yet, in the relentless pursuit of justice, there remains a glimmer of hope, a belief that one day the light of truth will pierce the darkness, revealing the full story of Artuth's untimely end. The relentless pursuit of justice often leads detectives down winding paths, where shadows obscure the truth, and every turn risks leading to yet another frustrating dead end. In this particular investigation, the detectives found themselves ensnared in a web of mystery as they sought to connect two seemingly disparate cases. Despite their tireless efforts, the answers eluded them, leaving only the echo of unresolved whispers in their wake. Yet, hope persisted. The community, gripped by fear and urgency, flooded the detectives with tips. Many women came forward, recounting unsettling encounter sightings were meticulously mapped. A sinister pattern emerged. The same man had been seen haunting the park at least 19 times in the days preceding Artuth's tragic disappearance. The narrative took a darker turn when one witness claimed to have seen this mysterious figure, in that the suspect might have returned to the scene, possibly to conceal evidence or to ensure his dark deeds remained hidden from the probing eyes of the law. There was, however, one distinctive feature that witnesses consistently noted. The man bore an eagle tattoo on his shoulder, a detail the detectives initially kept close to their chest, hoping it would lead them to their quarry. As days turned to weeks, and the investigation grew increasingly frigid, the detectives made a strategic decision to release the tattoo detail to the public. This move ignited a torrent of responses. Hundreds of calls flooded in, each one describing men with eagle tattoos. Yet, despite the fervor and the chase, each lead crumbled under scrutiny, leaving the detectives with empty hands and heavy hearts. Months passed in this manner, the investigation mired in an overwhelming deluge of over 4,000 tips, each one a potential key to unlocking the truth. Among these, 2 calls emerged, distinct in their implications. Both pointed to a local man, living mere blocks from the payphone from which a mysterious confession had been made. This man, with a criminal past and a tattoo that matched the witnesses' descriptions, became the focal point of the investigation. When brought in for questioning, his demeanor was unsettlingly calm, his words a taunt to the investigators. He claimed his actions on the day of Artuth's murder were as inscrutable as a scorpion's, daring the detectives to decipher his elusive truth. Despite hours of interrogation, he offered nothing of substance. The detectives, convinced they had their suspect, subjected him to a polygraph test, only to be met with unexpected results. The test revealed no deception, leaving the investigators in a state of disbelief. With no concrete evidence to detain him, the man was released, his clean polygraph results casting doubt on his involvement. The passage of time saw the once steady stream of tips dwindle to a mere trickle. Yet, the detectives, relentless in their quest for justice, continued to sift through the remnants of past leads, searching for the elusive truth hidden in plain sight. In this labyrinth of uncertainty, the pursuit of justice remains steadfast. For it is in the relentless search for truth that humanity finds its reflection, a journey that transcends the confines of time and space, ever seeking the light that dispels the shadows of doubt. In the aftermath of Artuth's tragic murder, the city of Ottawa found itself gripped by a relentless quest for justice. A year had passed, and the lead detective, facing a sea of expectant reporters, revealed that the investigation was painstakingly combing through a suspect list of approximately 400 men. Though many had been eliminated from suspicion, several remained enigmatically uncertain. The police, in a desperate bid to crack the case, even announced a reward of $50,000, the largest ever offered in Ottawa at that time. Yet, the elusive killer continued to slip through their grasp. As the second year since Artuth's death came to a close, hope began to wane. The trail had gone cold, and the once fervent investigation quietly stalled, becoming a shadow of its former urgency. It seemed as though the case would fade into the annals of unsolved mysteries until a chilling echo of the past emerged in September 2005. 18-year-old Jennifer Teague vanished from the streets of Ottawa, sparking fears of a possible connection to Artuth's case. Both incidents, hauntingly similar, stirred the investigators to re-examine the details with renewed vigor. However, despite the parallels, a definitive link remained elusive, and Artuth's case once again slipped into obscurity. For nearly another year, Artuth's murder lingered as a cold case, with detectives grappling with the disheartening possibility that it might never be solved. The absence of physical evidence and the inability to identify the mysterious figure seen in the park left them at an impasse. Then, in the spring of 2006, a pivotal development unfolded far from Ottawa, in the city of North Bay, approximately 190 miles away. A woman reported an attempted assault, recounting a harrowing encounter that took place as she walked home under the cloak of night. A man had approached her, feigning a need for companionship and assistance, claiming to have recently relocated from Ottawa. As she attempted to help, he suddenly turned violent, dragging her into the bushes. Her screams pierced the night, summoning a neighbor armed with a shovel, whose intervention sent the assailant fleeing into the darkness. In his haste, the attacker dropped his phone, a fateful error that would unravel his anonymity. The police swiftly traced the device, leading them to arrest 25-year-old Christopher Myers, a recent transplant from Ottawa. As the investigation into Myers unfolded, a lead detective recalled the haunting details of the Artuth Wood case from a police conference. Reviewing the materials, he stumbled upon a composite sketch of the suspect, and the resemblance to Christopher was unsettlingly precise. Without delay, he relayed this discovery to the Ottawa investigators, sparking a renewed examination of Myers. Christopher Myers had already crossed paths with the police. An anonymous tip had named him as a potential suspect, prompting detectives to investigate. At the time, nothing substantive linked him to the crime, and he seemingly had an alibi. The woman who rented him a room vouched for his presence earlier that day, adding another layer of complexity to the unfolding narrative. As the investigation deepened, the intricate tapestry of events began to unravel, revealing threads of deception and truth interwoven in a complex dance. The enigma of Artuth's murder, once thought insurmountable, now stood on the precipice of resolution. In the pursuit of justice, the detectives uncovered not only the identity of a killer, but also the enduring resilience of a community determined to bring closure to a haunting chapter of its history. In the end, the story of Artuth's murder serves as a somber reminder of the relentless passage of time and the enduring quest for truth. It is a tale that underscores the fragile balance between darkness and light, and the unwavering human spirit that seeks to illuminate the shadows with the light of justice. In the quiet afternoon stillness, the clock ticked past 3, marking the moment when Christopher had already departed for his work shift. The timeline of events placed the attack on Artuth around 1:30 in the afternoon, casting doubt on Christopher's ability to have been present at the scene. Yet, despite the apparent impossibility, his name would resurface nearly a year later, carried on the whispers of a new lead that directed attention back towards him. With renewed scrutiny, investigators resolved to unravel the truth and summoned Christopher for interrogation. During questioning, he fervently denied any connection to Artuth's tragic demise, even going so far as to bare his arms, revealing an absence of tattoos, a detail that had initially cast suspicion upon him. However, as the investigation unfolded, Christopher's shadow would once again loom large in the minds of detectives. The third time Christopher came under suspicion, it was after a chilling incident where he attempted to drag another woman into the secluded sanctuary of the bushes. This act of aggression prompted detectives to reassess him as their primary suspect. Yet the case was far from closed. Incontrovertible evidence was essential to solidify their suspicions. The re-examination of Christopher's alibi became the cornerstone of the renewed investigation. Initially, his landlady had testified to his presence at home throughout the day, providing him with a seemingly solid alibi. However, upon further questioning, she amended her statement, revealing she had seen him only in the morning hours. This revelation altered the landscape of the investigation entirely, suggesting that Christopher had ample time to cycle from his residence to the park, commit the heinous act, and still reach his workplace by the start of his shift. To validate this possibility, detectives retraced the journey on bicycles themselves, confirming the feasibility of the timeline. The pursuit of truth led them to a neighboring city, where they located Christopher once more, seeking clarity from the man whose story was riddled with inconsistencies. Initially, he denied any involvement, but when confronted with accounts from multiple witnesses placing him at the park, his narrative began to unravel. Christopher conceded that he had indeed been in the park on that fateful day, and claimed to have engaged in a brief exchange with Artuth. He spun a tale of a consensual walk into the woods by the river, only to introduce the sudden appearance of another girl, allegedly startling Artuth and causing her to fall into the water. He professed to have left the scene immediately, returning later to find Artuth lifeless, her body concealed beneath a shroud of branches. Detectives, seasoned in discerning truth from fiction, recognized the story as a fabrication. Yet Christopher's admission of interaction with Artuth on the day of her disappearance was a pivotal breakthrough. The mention of the other girl bore an uncanny resemblance to the testimony of a 16-year-old witness who had recounted hearing a scream and observing Artuth in the company of a man before they vanished into the woodland. It became evident that Christopher had co-opted the witness's account from media reports, distorting it to fabricate his own version of events. However, under the weight of mounting evidence and inconsistencies, Christopher's narrative crumbled. He confessed that everything he had claimed was false, a tangled web of deceit designed to obscure the truth. In the solemn pursuit of justice, the unraveling of Christopher's lies illuminated the darkness that had shrouded Artuth's tragic end. Through the relentless pursuit of truth, detectives pieced together the fragments of a life cut short, driven by a commitment to uncover the reality behind the facade. Such is the nature of justice, a relentless quest to unveil the truth, where even the most intricate tapestry of lies cannot withstand the light of scrutiny. Christopher's tangled narrative unfolded in layers, each more perplexing than the last. He insisted that he had never set foot in the park where Artuth's life was tragically cut short. His knowledge of the case, he maintained, was gleaned solely from media reports, his earlier statements a patchwork of information absorbed from these accounts. Yet, when subjected to the scrutiny of a polygraph test, his claims unraveled. He failed. Despite the polygraph's implications, Christopher clung steadfastly to his declaration of innocence. In the absence of tangible physical evidence, the authorities found themselves at an impasse, unable to formally charge him with murder. Meanwhile, as he languished in custody in an adjacent city, investigators plunged into the depths of his past, searching for any thread that might tie him to Artuth's untimely demise. Their inquiries unearthed a troubled history. Christopher's early life was marred by his mother's battles with alcohol and drugs during her pregnancy, burdens that left him grappling with developmental and mental health challenges from an early age. His plight was compounded by the physical abuse he endured until, at the tender age of 4, he was adopted by another family. Yet, even this sanctuary proved temporary. By the age of 12, his adoptive family relinquished him, overwhelmed by behaviors that had grown increasingly erratic and unmanageable. Christopher's adolescence was marked by a litany of troubling behaviors. He would engage in incessant conversations with himself, disrobe in public, and his aggression escalated with time. A psychologist who once treated him described Christopher as the most unsettling child he had encountered in his career. Despite these ominous beginnings, Christopher's adult life appeared outwardly stable. He managed to secure employment, maintain housing, and largely avoided significant legal entanglements. There were a few minor arrests, but nothing that suggested the depths of his past turmoil. Detectives meticulously tracked down some of Christopher's former girlfriends, seeking insight into his past. One woman recounted how Christopher, prone to violent outbursts, would sometimes physically assault her. She also noted his peculiar habit of cycling through parks, a routine that would later become a focal point of the investigation. But it was her revelation about his penchant for temporary tattoos, that aligned with eyewitness descriptions of the suspect. This tattoo became the linchpin, the evidence that transformed the investigation. It was the manifestation of their suspect, the tangible proof that tethered Christopher to the crime scene. Yet despite this breakthrough, the case remained precariously balanced. A confession was imperative to solidify their case. 5 months had passed since Christopher's arrest for the attempted assault. Investigators, determined to break the stalemate, enlisted the expertise of a seasoned investigator from the United Kingdom, renowned for his ability to coax confessions from the most reticent of suspects. The interrogation began with Christopher's steadfast denial of any involvement in Artuth's murder. But as the questioning intensified, he reverted to a previous story claiming that a chance meeting by the river led to a kiss, and that Artuth drowned after being startled by another girl. Why? In the labyrinth of Christopher's stories, truths and falsehoods entwined, each tale a reflection of a deeply troubled mind. The path to justice remained shrouded in ambiguity as investigators grappled with the complexities of human behavior and the elusive nature of truth itself. In this shadowy realm, where certainty is a rare commodity, the quest for understanding continues, a testament to the enduring human spirit and its relentless pursuit of justice. In the shadowy tapestry of Ottawa's criminal history, the case of Artuth Wood stands as a haunting testament to the darkness lurking amidst everyday life. The investigation into her murder would unravel a chilling narrative, one that began with a map drawn by a suspect named Christopher, who initially claimed to have encountered Artuth in a park. Eager to cooperate, he offered to guide detectives to this location. Yet upon arrival he recanted his story, claiming unfamiliarity with the surroundings. This inconsistency, however, only fueled the investigators' suspicions. Christopher's erratic behavior and shifting stories did not deter the detectives, rather they intensified their scrutiny. They hypothesized a connection not only to Artuth's tragic death, but also to a spate of unresolved sexual assaults that had gripped Ottawa at the time. The modus operandi was disturbingly similar, a man engaging unsuspecting women in casual conversation before launching a brutal assault. The breakthrough came when survivors of these assaults identified Christopher from photographs shown by the police. The weight of their testimonies was undeniable. Confronted with this evidence, Christopher succumbed to the pressure, confessing to 5 separate assaults. This confession bolstered the case against him, providing the leverage necessary to formally charge him with Artuth's murder. The judicial process was arduous, spanning years, until January 2008 when a plea deal was struck. In exchange for a guilty plea, the charge of first-degree murder was reduced to second-degree, sparing him the full extent of legal retribution. Christopher admitted to the heinous act of luring Artuth from a bike path into the woods, culminating in her drowning, a confession that underscored the brutality of his crimes. He also acknowledged his culpability in multiple other attacks, leading to a life sentence with a possibility of parole after a decade. Despite this legal resolution, Christopher's prospects for freedom remained bleak. His first parole hearing in 2015 ended in denial, as did a subsequent attempt in 2020. Experts cited an ongoing risk of recidivism, deeming his release improbable. Meanwhile, the community, scarred by the specter of his actions, adapted by fostering a culture of vigilance and solidarity. Women, once confident in their autonomy, now sought safety in numbers, organizing patrols and group activities to reclaim their sense of security. Although Christopher's admissions provided some closure, the true extent of his predations remained elusive, shrouded in the anonymity of unrecognized faces. The case, emblematic of the pervasive threat posed by such predators, served as a grim reminder of the vigilance needed to safeguard the freedoms and safety of society's most vulnerable. In the end, the story of Artuth Woods is a somber reflection on the resilience of a community and the enduring pursuit of justice in the face of profound violation.